route, remembering where to start, and having all these memories coming back.
And I know it's only been 5 years, but you drive so many cars. When you get back into this, how long does it take to just everything to make sense again?
I just coming in and looking at the steering wheel, I say, ooh, oh yeah, that's pretty old actually. Although it's only 5 years, but there's the evolvement of the cars is quite big. But yeah, it takes probably 3 minutes being in, looking, yeah, okay, this is the button, this, and then that's it. Then you feel at home straight away when you start driving. But for sure, the buttons are always different from one car to another.
Kevin, thank you.
Thank you.
Alex, you never know who's going to get out of these cars. But actually, this is probably not too far removed from the E-Type that you race at the members' meeting in Revival.
No, not too dissimilar. I mean, massively a lot. I didn't expect it to be that fast. I mean, what an engine, and a lot more grip than I thought. But obviously, the first time I sat in it was about 20 minutes ago. So, yeah, a bit of a last-minute call for me to be in this car. But thanks to Nick at Duncan Hamilton Rothko for inviting me to drive it. What a fantastic car, great history car, and lovely day to be able to drive it. Thank God the weather's nice today.
It's a very short hill climb, it's very narrow, a brand new car for you, but do you get some idea of why these were so successful in period?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was eye-opening. I mean, I've not been up this hill for 7 years, so it's been a little while for me, so a little bit of a refresher of the hill, but yeah, you know, I want to keep the car in one piece, but also I love to go quick and race, so bit of a strange one, but really enjoy driving the car. Again, you know, much faster than I thought it would be. Sounds fantastic on the overrun, which is the main thing, and hope the crowd enjoyed it. It's great.
They say today's Malkin's pretty much flat.
Not today. So no, it's great, and yeah, I think I'm going to get to drive it a bit later on as well today. So great.
Cheers, Alex.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
In my Tesla, might get arrested. She's sitting on my new shit. We still getting messy.
So all part and parcel of the fun and games this weekend is the celebration of Porsche, the 75 years of Porsche, and the Le Mans winners, plus the 60 years of the 911s. So much that we have been able to look forward to and enjoy, and this incredible collection of cars. There is so much to know about Porsche. So what a joy it is to celebrate the 75 years of Porsche here at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. Anniversaries is very much a part and parcel of every event that has been held here since 30 years ago. And for Porsche fans, and I'm sure there are many, many, many of you around here, I bet you're seeing cars that you've dreamt of actually seeing and being next to. And here's the chance where you can actually be so close to cars that perhaps as kids you grew up thinking, oh, one day that would be so amazing to see. Here it is, it's happening today. And for the youngsters as well who are here, what an opportunity to see how this brand has developed over the years.
Quite an extraordinary story, and they don't just have to look at the cars on the track, and a tractor as well. It's the coolest tractor, perhaps, definitely the coolest tractor here, the Porsche tractor. It's not just Lamborghini that started life making tractors, but of course they can look in the sky as well. That incredible Jerry Judah sculpture with the only Porsche to win a Grand Prix. That's the 1962 model, right at the top of that sculpture. And just their history up above, but also down below, and the whole circle underneath that Jerry Judah sculpture, just showing the diversity of Porsche's success.
Very much a family company. It was created originally in a way by Ferdinand Porsche, he was the man who would have been behind that tractor, for example, and also the auto unions pre-World War II. He was part of that, and of course the all-important VW Beetle. He was the man who designed that, but it was his son who then, after the war, decided we need to make our own cars. We need to do the Porsche brand. He really came up with the cars that we're now enjoying here.
German manufacturers tend to have a really, really strong family bloodline in them, but none stronger than Porsche. But just it's not just the number of successes, it's the different shapes of cars they did it in, not just circuit racing, all endurance racing, of course, but also rallying and rallycross. What a motorsport, Mark.
It's time to celebrate Porsche here at Goodwood, and you're going to see some lovely fireworks coming up in just a moment as well to make the most of another very special anniversary for the Porsche manufacturer, for that family that started off just before the war but started creating the cars, which is what we're really celebrating now, from 1948, building cars that were spread around the world and now of course are truly international. Always been a huge brand in the United States as well, and a family that has also taken on some of the best designers since then as well. And the 911, which has become such a part of the heritage of Porsche throughout that history. Let's enjoy, watch and celebrate their anniversary. what a lovely celebration this is for Porsche, and the fireworks going up and in the wind being blown across. And this is a day where we've had gentle wind compared to yesterday, when unfortunately the event was turned down because it was just too windy for safety. And you can sort of see the effect of that wind. But what a fantastic celebration this is.
Just phenomenal. The success the Porsche manufacturing brand has had across the years, the diversity, but it's just the relentless pursuit of trophies around the world. The 911s, the 935 in the background, the 904. The body's kept on changing, adapting to the ever-evolving rules of sports car racing, but rallying, rallycross as well. But it's just that relentless pursuit of victory and so many successes.
And so lovely. So many fans in that part there down by Goodwood House, absorbing that atmosphere. And in fact, I think everybody here at Goodwood got a sense of it as well. No matter, even if you weren't down right there, you could get the music and the sights, which have been so great to see. It always amazes me how they could put this sculpture together, and it must be so nerve-wracking for the owners of these cars, seeing them mounted up in the air upside down, but it works every year. This has happened from many, many years ago.
Jerry Judah uses strong glue. I joke, of course, everything. And we've had some unbelievable cars up, cars worth more than you can possibly imagine. But I've never seen Porsche's 956s and 962s upside down, the Formula One cars, and even the very latest Porsche 963 up top on that amazing sculpture outside Goodwood House. And great to see so many people down there with all the music and the synchronized fireworks. Very, very good show.
So the Porsche company, who have got so much to enjoy here this weekend to celebrate their anniversary, and we are certainly enjoying the output that they have given us for so many years.
Fly through the city, go find the star, run like a river that's in your heart. You gotta fight the star. Keep me like the ember, keep me like the fire, keep me like a color, keep me like the night, keep me like the ember in the night.
You're a bit late.
We've been working a little bit in the jump, you know. But
is it going to be any good, do you think? Better than last year?
Yeah, I think it can be better from last year.
How do you think you're going to make it any better?
Like that would be good, no? I think we have something here. Flying.
Big jump.
I think we got it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
time to
we can go.
Sorry.
Sorry, see you later.
Hey guys, I got it. This is our plan now.
So we've enjoyed the Porsche celebration, and now it's time to do another anniversary, which actually the same number of years, funnily enough. We've been talking since Porsche were first built, but we're celebrating NASCAR now because it is 75 years since the NASCAR racing gig started in America just after the Second World War, with these big saloon cars that have become true racing cars. Of course, they race on the ovals, they race on road circuits, they do huge numbers of laps, or huge numbers of races throughout the course of the year, far more than we see in pretty much any other title battles. And it's lovely to see some of these historic cars. And what you will notice, of course, Alice, is the noise of the classic Can-Am V8. Not the Can-Am, but the NASCAR V8s in this case.
Yeah, they will roar up the hill. As you said, another anniversary, celebrating lots of anniversaries. This is 75 years of NASCAR, and the first NASCAR strictly stock race was held in Charlotte Fairground Speedway, which Jim Roper won the first race. So you can see there's plenty of NASCARs that have been waiting patiently for the Porsche celebration to end. We've got Dodge Avengers, we've got Chevrolets, Dodge Chargers. We've got a huge variety then.
Yeah, absolutely. The Dodge Charger just heading up the hill now, in fact. Philip Shervin, who's driving this one, and this is a much more... in fact, Simon Chalkley we've got down as driving this one this time. They were kind of swapping around a bit over the weekend. So this is a pretty recent version. You're looking at a 2021, the Dodge Charger here. So you're going to see some of the older cars as well, but some of the more recent versions. And the names from NASCAR, such as Dodge. I mean, Dodge is, of course, one of the main suppliers. Ford, Chevrolet, we've got plenty of the Chevrolets. Pontiac, another great name from NASCAR as well. And we're seeing a mixture of them, and cars that also won the championships, driven by some superstars of NASCAR over the years. It's very much a specialist game, isn't it, Alice? You don't see many drivers in the world of motorsport flicking into NASCAR until just recently. We saw a New Zealander flick into NASCAR on a road course as Shane van Gisbergen took a win on a debut. But generally, NASCAR is American drivers who learn from a young age and stay with it for their whole careers.
Yeah, it's exactly that. I would say it's probably considered to be one of the top-ranked motorsport organisations in the world, and certainly is one of the largest spectator sports in America. Hugely popular. And Jenson Button even said, didn't he? He said he actually quite misses his NASCAR. And there's quite a few people who've driven NASCARs that I've spoken to in the past, and they say, actually, even though they look big and they look heavy, they are really fun to drive.
You're looking at a relatively early one now. This is a great-looking car, isn't it? The 1970 Dodge Daytona. And this, in a calendar of 48 races, took the title. Bobby Isaac, who won it that year, he won 11 races out of the 48. Can you believe it? 48 races. Just imagine how your season goes like that. He had a total of 37 wins in a career. So it's a 7-litre V8. I mean, that's the sort of size of engine that you're looking at in all of these cars, sort of 7 litres, as we see the next car heading up the hill as well. And such a beautiful mix of machinery. Charlie Turner this time, who's in one of the Ford Mustangs.
Yeah, so most of the popular manufacturers, we have Ford and Chevrolet, obviously, that huge names in NASCAR, and a different kind of roar going up the hill. And they almost are shaking our commentary box, aren't they, Ben, as they head past us through Moulcombe Corner. Does Charlie Turner streaming up the hill.
Yeah, this one's from 2014, so it's not It's not one of the older classic ones in a way. It's a more recent version, but still, well, you've got to say 9 years old now. Okay, now Jenson Button is about to go up. Now, this is not a NASCAR, but it has competed recently in America because it's done the Pikes Peak. And this is going to do the shootout later on as well. So this is the Radford 62.2 Pikes Peak edition. And they ran it in June this year, and it was fastest in class up the Pikes Peak, which is an amazing hill climb. And it's a very different hill climb to this one. Let's watch Jenson Button, everybody. Jenson is very much part of the Radford company, which is a company that has rejigged once again to create cars, do their own versions of cars. Originally, the Radford Type 62.2, based on the Lotus Exige, and done their own version. Then they came up with this, which is a much more developed version, producing something like 700 horsepower. It's lovely to see Jenson doing this stuff, isn't it, Alice?
Yeah, it's wonderful, and he's really enjoying his time here. He had his family here earlier on in the weekend. It was Thursday that his family was here, and he was just walking around just enjoying the sights. He just can't stay away, can he, from a racetrack or a motorsport event, and it just shows with the amount of variety of cars that are out there on display and the variety of cars that he's enjoying driving.
Absolutely. Harold Radford was the man who originally set up this business from 1948. They used to do adaptations of Bentleys and Aston Martins, that sort of thing. But it was revived by Jenson with Ant Anstead and Mark Stubbs, and now they've got these remarkable-looking bits of kit as well. So very, very enjoyable to see. As we've got some more electronic power now from a more recent Audi in terms of the Le Mans history that we're looking at, and
it's the Audi R18, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
It's the hybrid power. It was introduced in Le Mans in 2012, and it was Audi's hybrid system that delivered power to the front wheels, so making this technically a four-wheel drive car, but went to victory as well in Le Mans, a 3.7-litre V6 diesel.
That's right. It won by only a small amount, actually. It was one of those victories, yet another victory for Audi. As you say, they only won by 12 seconds, and winning by 12 seconds at Le Mans when you've been racing for 24 hours is a pretty scary amount, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. And now we've got this incredible Bentley that's on your screen now that Sean Lynn is driving. Beautiful car, that iconic livery, the Bentley Speed 8, which are 4-litre V8 turbocharged, another Le Mans winner. We've got so many Le Mans winner cars that are going to be going up the hill, Ben.
Yeah, that's right. This was a car driven by another Tom Christensen car, actually, when it was racing in period. So we've seen Tom go up the hill already today in a car that he has taken victory. Well, this was one he shared with Ronaldo Capello and Guy Smith. And Bentley were in great shape by then, I have to say, and they delivered a superb victory. Oh, the Audi has come to a halt, and I don't think there's been any incident as such. It looks more like a mechanical or electronic problem.
Yeah, it just seems to pull over to one side there, so red flag is out, which means all the cars will end up slowing down. So that looks like he's gone past the wall, and that's heading up the hill somewhere. There's not too many pull-in points here, but he's done a great job. As you can see, the Bentley passing there nice and slowly in the background. So we'll have a brief pause here to make sure we can move the Audi to safety.
Yes, I wonder what's gone wrong and whether they need to give it a quick tow up the rest of the hill. I'm not sure. So yes, as you say, the Bentley just going along fairly steady at this stage, but hopefully all will be okay. Sean Lynn in the car at the moment, and as I say, with tremendous history that Bentley managed to have. And also memories for me for a man who was very involved in running this team, John Wickham, who sadly passed away not very long ago, and a lot of us motorsport people knew him well. He'd been in all different elements of motorsport, and this was one of his great successes, running the team effectively at that time when they took the victory. But there we are, the Audi. Hopefully we will get that going soon, although it's going to take a few minutes to get it moved. There's the beautiful Renault, another ex-Le Mans car, the Alpine Renault from 1978. That
another
sort of period.
winner as well.
Yes, indeed. It was a winning car. Didier Pironi and Jean-Pierre Jousseau, they were the winners there. Whether René Arnoux driving it today, he was driving it yesterday, but maybe Alain Sataji who's driving it. Right, okay, it's Alain who's driving it on this occasion.
And you say that winning by 12 seconds was a lot. This car won by 5 laps. So slightly bigger margin to the Audi's 12 seconds, but built in 1978. And a very, very impressive car.
Yes, the Renault brand very much into that kind of motorsport at that stage. Audi, of course, then went on to remarkable success some years later, and all the battles they had. And at one time, they were such a dominant force, you always kind of knew, oh, it's probably going to be Audi that wins Le Mans. It's then gone through a little period of that recently, in recent years with Toyota, but then this year, there was the battle that Toyota had with various other manufacturers, and it was a Ferrari victory for the first time in many, many years. So Le Mans is picking up, I think, again, as we were saying earlier, in terms of interest with so many different manufacturers getting involved in this new type of HD engines and combinations of hybrid. But they're just trying to get the Audi out of the way at the moment. It may just be that they can put it into a safe area.
Yeah, looks so. Great job by the marshals, as always, that have certainly been tested with plenty of weather conditions thrown their way over the course of the weekend. Obviously, due to high winds yesterday, there was no running here at the hill climb venue. Was closed, but on Friday, a lot of rain. If any of you were here, the brollies were certainly well used. But today we are graced with no rain at the moment. Nice sunshine as the marshals are pushing the Audi back through in between the hay bales, and hopefully we'll be underway very shortly.
Yeah, the marshals, as ever, doing a fabulous job here at Goodwood. Thank you so much to all of the marshals who, as ever in motorsport, keep us going and allow it to continue. And their energy throughout the long, long days here at Goodwood is really appreciated by all of us. And they've got the car well out of the way, so I think we'll be able to continue this run in just a few moments' time. We won't get too much of a delay, and the rest of these cars that have shared the history of Le Mans. We've got some really, you will see some really older cars as well, because we saw that Bentley going up just now that won in 2003, but Bentley actually started their Le Mans heritage back in the early 1920s, and you will see at some point some of the big, rather heavy, but wonderful Bentleys from those early 1920s, 1924, and the 1929 Bentley Speed 6, old number 1, which took the 4th Bentley win in a third in a row, in fact, in those early years. So much to enjoy. Another winner of Le Mans over the years in a rather unusual car in the Mazda was Johnny Herbert. Let's hear from Johnny now.
Johnny Herbert back in the Mazda 787B. What a car, but really my eyes are drawn to the fact you're still fitting into the same overalls.
Your eyes are drawn very well, but it is quite tight in here, I have to say. But I'm fortunate I can still get them on. But yeah, you know, it's a wonderful experience to come here to Goodwood, but also seeing all these wonderful cars that we see that nearly takes you down. But it's, yeah, the 787B, you know, it's such a special thing for us as drivers, myself, Bertrand and Volker. But to Japan as well, you know, the first Japanese manufacturer to win Le Mans, and she's still going strong, and she still sounds sweet.
There are worse cars to be killed by than the Speed 8 behind me. Apologies for that. There's no getting around the noise with this, though. It is, as a racing driver at the time, it probably wasn't that nice because it was so noisy, but actually now it's hard not to love it.
It's actually, in the cockpit, it's not really a problem because the exhaust is just here, so it's shooting out the side, so it's all behind us anyway. So it's not such a problem inside. It's actually everybody else who was at Le Mans, it's everybody here who's at Goodwood who get a real sort of bang from the 4-rotor engine. So it's yeah, it's great that it's got that special sound, something we're never ever gonna hear again, unfortunately. But you come to Goodwood, you still can.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thanks.
Oh, it's always lovely to hear from Johnny, the man who took the victory in that Mazda at Le Mans. He was absolutely exhausted afterwards. He didn't actually get onto the podium because he was in a bit of a state.
I was just about to say, he's always full of life,
I know,
full of energy, and you've just proved there that isn't always the case.
No, I think it was a bit of a tough one. But it's interesting what he was saying about the noise. I can totally understand that, especially the speed that Johnny drives at. All the noise goes behind him rather than in front of him, and that was lovely to see. So it looks like we're getting the cars beginning to move up the hill again, which is good news, and we're going to see plenty more of this historical lineup that we have. The Renault is going to be one of the next cars that comes up the Alpine Renault from 1978 that we were looking at. There it is, just on the start line now, so that the marshals are just making sure they're getting all the signs that it's clear. There you are, they're getting the fire up, and they can bring it back up the hill for another run. One or two of these cars we will see later in the shootout as well, although most of the shootout cars will be getting ready for that, because we're not too far away for the pace setters coming up the hill pretty soon. We'll be looking for that. So this is the Alpine Renault, as we mentioned, the winner of Le Mans in 1978. Didier Pironi, who was one of the drivers, of course, was a very experienced Formula One driver. He drove for Ferrari in Formula One, Didier Pironi. Sadly, his career ended before he had a chance to take a title. There was a very tragic year involving him and Gilles Villeneuve. But before that had all happened, he had taken this victory at Le Mans in the Alpine Renault. And we're seeing quite a lot from Alpine now. Of course, we saw the very early Alpine rally car come up the hill, and we are seeing some of the later Alpines. It's lovely that the brand, I mean, it's, you know, the name is now used in Formula One, but the brand itself has grown a lot in recent years.
Yeah, it certainly has. And if you were here bright and early this morning, you would have seen the Alpines out in the first glance. They're obviously here with their new Le Mans edition A110R, the A110R, and they also had the Entstone edition, the A10 as well. So lots of different cars going up, and they've got electric cars as well, and it is really nice to see the brand really growing. And actually, it's nice to see that quite a few people actually say to me, I didn't realise Alpine did cars for so long. And so it's nice to actually see them here so people can really see them in the flesh. And actually, there's a rich history behind Alpine.
There is, you know, and I like the way Renault have decided to sort of go the Alpine way for their performance side of things. And it's working well for them.
Yeah, it certainly is. Obviously racing in Formula One as well.
So we've got a few more cars to come up the hill, just trying to get things going. So I'm surprised we haven't got somebody else up and running just yet, because they're trying to get this little batch of cars. Whether there's a problem getting it fired up, I don't know. That could always be a little bit of an issue here.
Yeah, so it looks like the marshals are trying to wave the car up the hill. Yeah, come on, up you come.
This looks like one of the NASCAR group again, doesn't it?
it?
Yes. So we shall see which one is just about to come up the hill in that NASCAR group. Remember, we're celebrating the 75 years of NASCAR as well. We've got a couple of very recent of the Chevrolet
there we go.
Camaros, and in fact, I think they've got it fired up now. So up to the line, and then we can get to witness another of the NASCAR machines, because this is 293, so this is a pretty recent one. This is a 2022 car. Another of the Chevrolet Camaros, and Goffredo Piro is driving it here today and getting the launch off the line. So you're getting back to that lovely V8 noise. In fact, Ed Berrier is in it. Oh, that's good news. Ed Berrier, he is a very, very experienced NASCAR driver, now in his 60s, but loving coming to Goodwood. He often comes here to Goodwood, comes from North Carolina. He was a NASCAR racer between 1995 and 2000, and now he's just having a little play in a much more modern version of what he used to race.
Yeah, exactly. It's certainly not hanging around either, as you can see, going into Morecambe Court. And this is Piro in that beautiful. I actually really like this livery.
Yeah, this is Emanuele Piro, so yet another winner from Le Mans. He's in the Matra Simca, and actually this one was a victory for Henri Pescarolo and Gerard Larousse in the 1970s. It won Le Mans. They won the Constructors' title for 2 years, actually, and Emanuele Piro, we've seen Emanuele, of course, he's been here with Goodwood for so many years. He's one of the captains of the teams at the events as well, the members meeting, and Emanuele is always wonderful to talk to about anything, really, whatever it is, but a very talented driver himself, and now he's got this little chance to enjoy the Matra Simca.
Yeah, he certainly has, and we've got more stream of cars going up the hill. We've got a Ford Mustang GT3 that Harry Tinknell is behind the wheel. We're going to have a Mercedes-Benz AMG GT2 as well, so we've got some more modern cars coming up the hill.
As Piro comes over the line, the 5-time winner of Le Mans, winner of the Nürburgring 24-hour race in 1899. He's been winner at Goodwood RACTT. He won with Dario Franchitti some years ago, long time ago now, actually back in 2005 in a Jaguar E-Type. So a huge mixture of cars. Thomas Jagier now in the AMG GT2, and of course this is a very modern machine, the sort of car that we see as a safety car when we're going to Formula One races as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, it is, and quite a popular car racing across all categories of GT racing, British GT, through to obviously racing in Le Mans and other championships as well. And I can see that Mike Wilds is out there now in that lovely Jaguar XJR.
Bit of squealing from a car just going past us, but the Mercedes over the line, 700 horsepower in that, so it's a very powerful piece. Big rear wing that they've fitted to it as well, and it has an amazing steering wheel. It's a bit like a Formula One steering wheel. It's got loads of stuff on it. Right, here we go then.
This is Mike in his
excellent.
Well, not his, but in the 7-litre V12 Jaguar, and such a lovely car.
Yeah, this is beautiful. From 1988, they took their victory, and it was driven by Jan Lammers, Andy Wallace, and Johnny Charles Priest. And at the end of it, they actually had a real problem with the car, and it was Jan Lammers who just managed to bring it home without really changing gear at all. So that was one of the stories. Now we're looking at one of the Bentleys, the Bentley 3-litre Sport. So I mentioned earlier, Alice, that you've got to go right back to the beginning, and this was when Bentley was successful at Le Mans in the 1920s.
Yes, and another Le Mans winner as well. And we've seen quite a few of the Le Mans winners, and that, again, very old, as you said, built in 1924. And they would actually end up winning by it says just a single lap, but still quite an achievement for a car like this, and in so long ago.
Yeah, that's right. It was only the second ever Le Mans, in fact, and it was the first Bentley win. So it worked well for Bentley, didn't it? Getting involved in Le Mans when it only had just begun. So that was 1924. So 99 years. We're celebrating obviously the first Le Mans, which was in 1923, with some of these earlier cars, and they're one of the most beautiful classic shapes of all. That's the Jaguar D-Type long nose. This was the Curie Cross run car, and it won that the Le Mans beating. Actually, it beat Sterling Moss and Peter Collins in an Aston Martin that year. They managed to take victory, but Jaguar then were very successful in that period.
Yeah, they certainly were, and it was actually, they took a commanding victory, and it was a 1-2 finish for the Scottish team, as well as now we see the Ferrari 250 TR58.
Another winner, and from Le Mans, this was Olivier Gendebin, Phil Hill, who of course went on to become a Formula One world champion a few years after he took the victory at Le Mans with this Ferrari 250.
And I was saying how 5 laps was impressive. Well, this car won by a staggering 12 laps. So some hugely impressive wins out there. Obviously a long time ago. That was in 1958. This is a 3-litre V12. So another impressive car, and a very impressive victory too.
Yeah, it was a part of Ferrari's success in Le Mans. In fact, they'd already had 2 victories before this one came along, and then after that they missed out to Aston Martin the year following, but then they managed to win 6 in a row after that. So it was a really tremendous time for Ferrari. They were the dominant force, and I think in many ways that was what lifted the whole Ferrari manufacturer name in the world of sports cars. Obviously they were known in Formula One, but in road cars and sports cars, I think their success at Le Mans in that period in the 50s and 60s was crucial to building up the whole brand.
It was, and that will be one of the victories that they will think back to, especially seeing that they won this year. We've got a slightly different looking kind of car on our screens now.
Yes, that's right. Built very much for Le Mans. This is the Cadillac Series 61 Le Monstre, they called it, not surprisingly. So it wasn't actually successful. It was built for Le Mans, but it wasn't actually particularly successful. Now then, Tom Christensen is heading up the hill then, the star of Le Mans for for so many years, and he's in the Audi R8 this time. This was from 2000, and yet another of his victories. He took this one with Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro. So we saw Pirro a moment ago. Well, they were teammates in this car, and it was when Audi's success really began, because they took the victory. It was the beginning of 13 wins for Audi in 15 races. I mean, it just seems crazy.
Absolutely. Very crazy. 3.6-litre V8 turbocharged, and Tom Christensen behind the wheel, who is such an idol, and you could say a hero of Le Mans with his great success. He just probably just about manages to stamp on the brake, catching up the Cadillac. So some great driving there from Tom, because it can be very blind coming around the top of the hill. So he did a great job.
Well, unfortunately, the Cadillac is the Le Monster, as the French. It was the French that apparently nicknamed it the Monster. It was done by Briggs Cunningham, and but it's not looking particularly quick going up the hill, one has to say. Now here's a Bentley that was racing at Le Mans right at the very beginning. So this is the 3-litre Bentley, and that's lovely to see. And it's also being run in environmentally friendly ways.
Powered by synthetic fuels, which again is very impressive. And actually 20% of the cars that are going up the hill here this weekend are either running hydrogen, electric or synthetic fuels. So Bentley, of course, showing off here that you can still power a vehicle this old, 1923, by synthetic fuels. And it's still, as Vettel touched on in his interview yesterday with ITV, that he said that it still sounds the same, it still looks the same, it's just all powered in a much better way for our environment.
How wonderful to watch as well, to see the car that was actually at that first ever Le Mans, and it's going up the hill, so that's very enjoyable indeed. We're seeing a car now that we're actually going to be seeing later on in the shootout. It's the Viper, and Florent Moulin has already done some pretty rapid runs with this car, so I don't know if he's doing like a little practice run.
I think he's getting a sneaky practice run, and we'll also see the Ferrari 88 Challenge as well. So those cars that are in this batch are pretty lucky to be getting the run up the hill so close to the shootout, which is coming our way very soon. As you can see, they're just testing out the limits. They head through, the Ferrari heads through Moulcombe Corner now.
Yeah, and we've got this, as you say, this Ferrari, all part of what we're going to be watching when we do get into the shootout. We're going to see such a combination of cars. Some won't be super fast, because we are going to enjoy some of the older ones as well. Andrew Morrow just taking up the 488 Challenge for the moment. We're going to see a real mix, though, of cars that will be heading out for trying to set a good time up the hill.
Yeah, Ferrari comes across the line. Oh, and we have a car just gone off in by our commentary box. So I think that will be the red flag. I think it might have been a BMW M1, possibly.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, unfortunately. And that is a pity, because David Brabham is just coming up in that Jaguar you're looking at. That's the XJR14. He's getting the sign. He'll get the red flag. He's being told to slow down and stop. In the background, in fact, it's right outside our commentary box. He slowed it right down and taking it through. So David Brabham, they had to fix his car, because it actually failed on the first run up the hill on Thursday. Thankfully that car is still working, but we've got another one in the barriers.
Yeah, I think that's the pro car, the 3.5-litre straight 6 BMW that has gone off at Moulcombe Corner. We'll have a look. As you can see, the crowd enjoying themselves in the sunshine.
Yeah, that's a great shame, though, isn't it, to have lost a car into the barriers. Let's have another little look here. Yeah, you're right. It is the BMW M1 car. Oh, my goodness. That's a little bit like the incident we saw earlier on over this 4-day plan here at Goodwood. Yes. Oh, I got a wheel on the grass while braking, I think, or in the braking area.
And then at that point, you're just hoping that it's going to grip once you come back onto the tarmac. But unfortunately for the BMW, it didn't. Hay bales doing their job. Marshals as well, fantastic as always, straight on the scene. just to make sure that everything is right. And there's another angle there. Hay bales. So we'll have I'm expecting a fairly lengthy stoppage here now.
Steve Osborne, the driver, I'm sure he's okay. Those bales work very, very well in protecting drivers, and obviously there will be damage to the front end of the car as a result of going in like that. But I'm sure Steve will be fine. This car, in its history, it was late 1970s, early 1980s when these cars used to be a support race to Formula One, actually, and they used to. It was a championship in a way, but they used to invite 5 Formula One drivers to join that support race. So you get some Formula One drivers being stars in these BMW M1s, and Lauda won the 79 season, and Nelson Piquet won the 1980 season.
I'd quite like to see that now.
Yeah, wouldn't it be fun?
Current Formula One, yeah, because the Formula One obviously has a variety of support packages. The Porsche Carrera Cup, obviously, and the Formula 2 and Formula 3 championships. So I think we should bring that back in, Ben.
I'd love to, but I think nowadays it's a bit more difficult with branding. I think in those days it was interesting that quite a lot of F1 teams were quite happy for their drivers to go and drive a BMW. Can you imagine now a Mercedes driver being allowed to drive a BMW, or an Alpine driver? You know, I think that commercially now it's unless we could come up with something completely independent. Of course, that's what you need.
Or we should throw in something from the Revival, get them in a pedal car race like they have the children do at Revival. That
would be fun, yes. We'll look forward to that in September, won't we? I am sure that many of you who are here today will be coming along to the Revival as well in September.
That's one way to wear your radio.
Yeah, absolutely. Good way to listen in on everything that's going on. But it's so wonderful to see so many of you enjoying the day, and I'm glad that the weather has actually been good so far, touching wood. Being a commentator, of course, it's always a mistake to say something like that because it usually goes wrong. But we've been lucky today already, and I'm glad that it's been a very enjoyable day without the rain that we had on Friday. And although it's breezy, it's not quite as strong as it was yesterday on that rather sad day that we had to stop everything taking place. And yeah, it was a quiet day for everybody, keeping out of the way. But today has worked out well, and we've got so much more to look forward to. Let's look back at some of the highlights from this event. And there we are, just looking up at the NASCAR machinery that was heading up the hill, first of all, with its very characteristic noise, and going back to the 1970s with some interesting aerodynamic angles. But the newer cars, we will see actually a couple of these coming up in the shootout. They are pretty competitive. I'm not sure they'll be fastest of all. Not a NASCAR, but a Pikes Peak winner. We also saw Jenson Button heading up the hill. And we've seen a mixture of these, then the Le Mans Classics, haven't we?
Yeah, we've seen some wonderful Le Mans Classics, and then back to the NASCARs streaming up the hill. So we've been very, very lucky to have a variety, and such a privilege to be here to see these wonderful cars, great array of cars, and Le Mans winning cars as well.
Yes, that's right, and a shame that it ended off quite like it did with that little problem we've had, but it does give us a chance to catch up with some of the drivers that have made it up to the top of the hill, where Ed can catch up with them, and he's talking now to Mike Rockenfeller.
Mike, I spoke to Jenson about this car, and you all just talk about it and have a massive smile on your face.
Definitely. It's a really cool car. It was a unique project to be together with Jenson and Jimmy and Team Hendrick. Going to Le Mans, it was just a huge adventure. Bringing that car there and being fast, faster than all the GT cars, was just amazing. The people love the car, the sound, the look, the size of it, and definitely the speed. And I think we had a great time, and we will always look back to it with a lot of joy and, like you said, smile on our faces.
It's obviously a NASCAR, but it had a lot of work done to it. How hard was it to get as quick as it was?
Well, not that hard. I mean, we did the obvious things, right? We tried to reduce a little bit the weight, increased slightly the downforce. Power stayed pretty much the same. The tires are a bit wider, so Goodyear made special tires for Le Mans. So all these things add up, and I would say we gained quite some time. We had the goal to be within the GT cars, and finally then in quali we were like 4 seconds quicker, which was amazing. But the thing is, the car was also fun to drive because you could muscle it around. the window is quite big, so you can drift it in a high-speed corner and you really feel it. It's honestly, it's a lot of fun to drive. I mean, it's a shame we didn't compete against anyone. That's for sure the one thing we were all missing a little bit. But we were trying to compete against the race, against the clock.
Knowing racing drivers, you're probably competing against each other as well.
A little bit, yes, and yeah, it was good. That was good as well. You're right. Within the group, we were trying to beat each other.
Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you.
To hear from Mike now, this is the damage done to the front of that BMW M1. No surprise that there is rather a lot of damage. Bikes are beginning to make their way over to Goodwood House for celebration, but in the meantime, of course, we've got many world champions on bikes here today, but we've also got a 4-time world champion from Formula One. A little bit earlier on, Ed spoke to Sebastian Vettel.
Sebastian Vettel, great to finally see you up here. I think that's the first time I've ever seen an FW14B do donuts.
Maybe, there you go. So I wanted to know whether it works, and it was fine. So we're getting a bit hot with the temperatures at the end, but it's all good. It was good fun. A lot of people, so it's great.
Now tell me, it's all about race without trace. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's just to demonstrate people that you can literally race without leaving a trace. Obviously, you know, we use e-fuels, so synthetic fuels, and yeah, as you can see, it's a really old car, and it wasn't meant to build around, or it wasn't built around those fuels, but it worked. So you just gotta adjust the ECU a tiny bit, but it works for this car, it works for modern Formula One cars, it works for your road car. So it's just to show, that there is an alternative, and I think the world is changing, so you know, we don't have to give up on these things. We can still hold on, but do it in a more responsible way.
Now, you've obviously just come up in Mansell's Williams. You've got Senna's McLaren. Yes. Have you got a favourite, or is it a bit like choosing between your children?
Great. Obviously, being in England, I guess the Red 5 is a bit more iconic, but Senna is a big name, so I'm looking forward to drive his car later on.
Now, you obviously love driving these cars. Just finally, you obviously know all about the Goodwood Revival. I'm sure we could maybe persuade you to get in the race seat there.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I haven't made it to the event yet, but it's exactly my thing. I love old stuff, so I should go there.
Cheers, Seb.
Cheers, thank you.
So lovely to hear from Sebastian Vettel, a 4-time Formula One world champion. But what we're doing right now is gathering together superstar riders, world champions amongst them, who have got tremendous results that they've had in recent years. We've also got riders here with tremendous backgrounds as well. James Hayden is with us once again, and James, this is a special moment, isn't it?
It is indeed. I mean, if we look there on the right there in the Honda, that's Freddie Spencer and Mick Doohan, two of the legends of our sport. Mick Doohan, 5-time consecutive world champion, absolute unbelievable ride. I raced him for 2 years of those. He won from 94 all the way through to 98. I raced him in 95, 96. Incredible rider with
a lovely
Honda.
Guy as well.
Yeah, super nice Australian, and so focused, so fast. Next to him, fast Freddie Spencer, the only man ever to win both the 500 title and the 250 title in the same year. That was in 1985. He also won the 83 500cc World Championship. And now we're looking at some of the younger riders as well, mixed with the old Randy Momola there. You can see the American. 4 times he finished runner-up in the 500cc World Championship, so very unlucky not to take a win for him. Kevin Schwantz, Revving Kevin, absolute legend, the 93 world champion. So great to see this real mixture, plethora of riders from every generation coming here and all celebrating.
It must be wonderful, and for the current riders who are doing so well, Pecco Bagnaia, for example, the current champion leading at the moment, to meet up with some of these guys, that must be a very special time for him.
Yeah, because it's, these guys, they do come to the occasional Grand Prix, but you're right, there's
but when you're not racing,
that's right.
It's a slightly different approach, isn't
very,
it?
Very much, and it does, that you can do it in a very relaxed way. You can form relationships with people that, you never had before, and it's sort of lovely to see this, this cross sort of pollination, as it were. And look at these bikes that we're looking at there. There we're looking at the latest KTM MotoGP bike, the Aprilia RSGP bike. That's Alex Rins' bike that won the American MotoGP a few weeks ago, his RCV. And then we're looking at Fast Freddy's RS. Casey Stoner there, that was his World Championship winning bikes. Then you've got Swance's winning bike. Then you've got Kenny Roberts Jr.'s winning bike. And now you have Bastianini's, the bike that he's riding this year in the 2023 World Championship. And as I say, just look at the evolution of those bikes as you come along, the way the aerodynamics have evolved, the way the engines have evolved, electronics have evolved. You know, absolutely stunning. They really are just gorgeous bikes, and so nice to see it all done outside the house, and it's just a really amazing setting.
Welcome to the Goodwood balcony. We have something very special for you today. For the first time in a very long time, we have MotoGP in the house. It's the first time there hasn't been a race for a long time, so we can catch up with the plethora of MotoGP heroes, starting with none other than Michael Doohan. We seem to be talking all weekend, Mick. Five-time world champion. You always love it here. What's so special?
I think it just brings everyone together, doesn't it? So sort of old guys like myself to the young generation, new bikes, old bikes, cars, you name it, so even tractors really. But then all the display for everything motorsport and motor-related mobility. So, it's a pleasure to be here. It's a shame we didn't have the run-in we'd like.
Yeah, well, yesterday obviously was a little bit of a nightmare. I'll squeeze behind you so as not to go in front and speak to Fast Freddie Spencer, a multiple world champion. But I still think how special it was that you got the 2 championships in 1 year. I mean, that just couldn't happen now, but it must have been so difficult back then.
Well, it was certainly difficult back then, and everybody wasn't sure if I was maybe crazy for trying, but I had a great support, great team, and with HRC and all my crew, and it was really a dream of mine, you know. When I started Grand Prix racing in 1980, was maybe to try it, and it worked out, so I'm very thankful for that.
And you were the youngest rider at the time to take the championship, and that lasted until Marc Marquez came along and took that mantle, but you're obviously working in MotoGP now, still enjoying it.
Yes, well, you know, talk about when I became the youngest world champion, I never imagined that it would last 30 years, you know, that record. So when Mark come along, I told someone he certainly could break that record.
And we need to move a little bit forward because unfortunately everybody here can't see. You might want to have a big round of applause for the MotoGP heroes that you're about to see. Here is Freddie, who we were just talking to. Come forward, guys, come forward and give a little wave, and let's have a chat with Randy. Randy Mamola, well, you are basically, this is your second home.
Listen, it's great to be here, Susie. I think it's my 5th time, but it's the first time up on the balcony, so at least we get to share it together.
Absolutely, it's so special to be up here, isn't it? Valentino Rossi, we all remember those years ago, and he still says it's one of the highlights of his career to be up here, and what a beautiful view, and it really is all about the crowd here, isn't it, at Goodwood?
Yeah, I mean, it's a blessing for us to be able to come up here with the motorcycles. It always seemed that Goodwood was about cars, and the Duke of Richmond decided to change that way. And when he came to Valencia at the end of the year of the MotoGP round and invited the championship to come because it was the first year that there would be no Grand Prix, I'm glad that Dorna took it up on it because it's been a great weekend so far.
Yeah, it really is. The sun's shining down. Let me bring forward Casey Stoner, double world champion. Did it on a Honda and a Ducati. You are greedy, Casey. It's fantastic to see you here, and we know you still have a massive passion for the sport.
No, it's incredible, and to be honest, I think I've been coming here since 2006. I've missed out some years, of course, due to schedule problems, but it's an incredible event. From the first moment I came here to see the amount of cars that I grew up watching, being able to share a room with so many of my heroes and get to share some stories, it's an event unlike any other. There's nothing that even compares to it in the entire world, so it's a privilege to be here.
It really is, Casey. It's great to see you here. Thank you very much. And I think that's the thing that Casey said there, isn't it? You get to hang out with lots of different world champions from all different disciplines. Here's another one. No, here's another one. You're not going anywhere. Kenny Roberts Jr., ladies and gentlemen.
Yep, thank you. Thanks for coming out. Sorry about the weather yesterday.
We don't blame you, Kenny. 2000 winner on the Suzuki. And how lovely is it to be out here riding a bike again in front of all these people?
It's awesome. wasn't aware of what it was initially and didn't Google or all that stuff wanted to experience it. Once I got here, I was blown away.
You could have asked your dad.
Understatement from what he explains it. But no, it's unreal. When I got here, I was super impressed. My wife and kids were able to come, and there's not many opportunities left to ride a bike that I rode with a two-stroke and get to simulate sort of what we look like in leathers and helmet. So it's important for them to kind of see what we did in whatever form it is. And this event is, I've never seen anything like it. I hope to come back. It's unbelievable.
It's out of this world, isn't it? Can I just have a quick word with one of the young riders? Is that possible? Let me grab, we've got here, Augusto Fernandez is here, Brad Binder is here. Come and let everybody have a look. Are you enjoying it? How was your hill climb?
Yeah, amazing. It's been an amazing day. Being able to share the day also with some of my idols, and then be able to see this huge event with so many fans here. Yeah, lovely day and having so much fun.
Absolutely perfect. Brad Bender is here, Kevin Schwantz is there, Alex Crevillo I can see, and Ralph Fernandez as well, and we've just run out of time. So ladies and gentlemen, a massive round of applause for your two-wheeled heroes, MotoGP.
Well, that was lovely to see, and Susie talking to many of the superstars there of MotoGP and the World Championship Grand Prix over the years.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And just Kenny Roberts Jr. there, him and his father, the only pairing ever to both win the Premier Class World title. Obviously, we've also got Wayne Gardner here. His son won the Moto2 and he won the 500. So they're the only sort of father and son duo, but only the Kenny Roberts and Kenny Roberts Jr. did it in the top class. And what a great and amazing display of all eras, coming 70s, 80s, 90s, the noughties to now, covering all the bikes. A fantastic display and a wonderful to hear from all those great riders.
Yeah, lovely to hear from Freddie Spencer how surprised he was that it took until Marc Marquez took it, became the youngest champion. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what a talent he was, and what a talent Marc Marquez is as well. I mean, we are really blessed with some superb guys around us.
Lovely. Thank you so much, James. And